Good evening, peace be with you. We're going to read from Genesis 14, Psalm 14, and the Gospel of Matthew 14. I hope you'll be blessed. The campaign of the four great kings. When Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elsasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of the Goim, made war on Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboam, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, all the latter joined forces in the valley of Siddim, now the Salt Sea. For 12 years they had been under the yoke of Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they revolted. In the 14th year Chedorlaomer arrived, and the kings who had allied themselves with him. They defeated the Rephaim at Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim at Ham, the Emim in the plain of Kiriathaim, the Horites in the mountainous district of Seir, near El Paran, which is on the edge of the desert. Wheeling round, they came to the spring of judgment, that is, Kadesh. They conquered all the territory of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites, who lived in Hazazon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela, that is Zoar, marched out and engaged them in the valley of Siddim. Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of the Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elsasar, 4 kings against 5. Now there were many bitumen wells in the valley of Siddim, and in their flight the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fell into them, while the rest fled into the hills. The conquerors seized all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their provisions, and made off. They also took Lot, the nephew of Abram, and his possessions, and made off. He had been living at Sodom. A survivor came to tell Abram and Aner the Hebrew, who was living at the oak of Amorite Mamre, the brother of Eshcol. These were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his kinsman had been taken captive, he mustered his retainers, born in his own household, numbering 318, and gave chase as far as Dan. He and his retainers deployed against them under cover of dark, defeated them, and pursued them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. He recaptured all the goods as well as his kinsman Lot and his possessions, together with the women and people. Melchizedek. When Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer and the kings who had been on his side, the king of Sodom came to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, that is, the valley of the king. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought bread and wine. He was a priest of God Most High. He pronounced this blessing: Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High for putting your enemies into your clutches. And Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people and take the possessions for yourself. But Abram replied to the king of Sodom, I swear by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, Not one thread, not one sandal strap will I take of what is yours, for you to be able to say, I made Abram rich. For myself nothing, except what the troops have used up, and the share due to the men who came with me, Eshcol, Aner, and Mamre. Let them take their share. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Psalm 14. The fate of the godless. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Their deeds are corrupt and vile, not one of them does right. Yahweh looks down from heaven at the children of Adam to see if a single one is wise. A single one seeks God. All have turned away, all alike turned sour. Not one of them does right, not a single one. Are they not aware, all these evildoers? They are devouring my people. This is the bread they eat, and they never call to Yahweh. They will be gripped with fear where there is no need for fear, for God takes the side of the upright. You may mock the plans of the poor, but Yahweh is their refuge. Who will bring from Zion salvation for Israel? When Yahweh brings his people home, what joy for Jacob, what happiness for Israel. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Matthew, Gospel of Matthew 14. The Church, first fruits of the kingdom of heaven, a narrative section, a visit to Nazareth. When Jesus had finished these parables, he left the district, and coming to his hometown, he taught the people in their synagogue in such a way that they were astonished and said, where did the man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers? This is the carpenter's son, surely. Is not his mother the woman called Mary, and his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Jude, his sisters too? Are they not all here with us? So where did the man get it all? And they would not accept him. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is despised only in his own country and in his own house. And he did not work many miracles there because of their lack of faith. Herod and Jesus. At the time, Herod the Tetrarch heard about the reputation of Jesus and said to his court, this is John the Baptist himself. He has risen from the dead, and that is why miraculous powers are at work in him. Now it was Herod who had arrested John, chained him up, and put him in prison, because of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife. For John had said to him, it is against the law for you to have her. He had wanted to kill him, but was afraid of the people who regarded John as a prophet. Then during the celebrations for Herod's birthday, the daughter of Herodias danced before the company, and so delighted Herod that he promised on oath to give her anything she asked. Prompted by her mother, she said, give me John the Baptist's head, here on a dish. The king was distressed, but thinking of the oath he'd sworn and his guests, he ordered it to be given to her, and sent and had John beheaded in the prison. The head was brought in on a dish and given to the girl, who took it to her mother. John's disciples came and took the body and buried it. Then they went off to tell Jesus. The first miracles of the loaves. When Jesus received this news, he withdrew by a boat to a lonely place where they could be by themselves. But the crowds heard of this, and leaving the towns went after him on foot. So as he stepped ashore, he saw a large crowd, and he took pity on them and healed their sick. When evening came, the disciples went to him and said, "This is a lonely place, and time has slipped by. So send the people away, and they can go to the villages to buy themselves some food." Jesus replied, "There is no need for them to go. Give them something to eat yourselves." But they answered, "All we have with us is 5 loaves and 2 fish." So he said, "Bring them here to me." He gave orders that the people were to sit down on the grass. Then he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, raised his eyes to heaven, and said the blessing. And breaking the loaves, he handed them to his disciples, who gave them to the crowds. They all ate as much as they wanted, and they collected the scraps left over, 12 baskets full. Now about 5,000 men had eaten, to say nothing of women and children. Jesus walks on the water, and with him Peter. At once he made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead to the other side, while he sent the crowds away. After sending the crowds away, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, while the boat by now was some furlongs from the land. It was hard pressed by rough waves, for there was a head wind. In the 4th watch of the night, he came towards them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But at once Jesus called out to them, saying, "Courage, it's me, don't be afraid." It was Peter who answered. "Lord," he said, "if it is you, tell me to come to you across the water." Jesus said, "Come." Then Peter got out of the boat and started walking towards Jesus across the water. But then, noticing the wind, he took fright and began to sink. "Lord," he cried, "save me!" Jesus put out his hand at once and held him. "You have so little faith," he said. "Why did you doubt?" And as they got into the boat, the wind dropped. The men in the boat bowed down before him and said, "Truly, you are the Son of God." The cures at Gennesaret. Having made the crossing, they came to land at Gennesaret. When the local people recognized him, they spread the news through the whole neighborhood and took all that was sick to him, begging him just to let them touch the fringe of his cloak. And all those who touched it were saved. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. May you be healed. May you have God's peace. All blessings and greetings. Thank you for listening. In the name of Jesus.